Welcome to Wesley Impact. I'm Keith Garner. Conflict is inevitable at some point in our lives, but are there some things you can do to minimise the likelihood or even avoid conflict? So many thanks for joining us today and welcome to Wesley Impact. A little later I'll be talking to Bruce Burgess, who's set up a work called Peacewise to provide a Christian approach to conflict management and resolution. Ida Marie will join us to sing The Power of Your Name, and I'm going to share some thoughts on Psalm 46. My talk in a short series on the Psalm focuses on Psalm 46, which speaks of God's presence in very challenging circumstances. The psalm is often read in public worship and when recalling difficult times, but it also has been a tremendous inspiration for individuals. By using the notable context of the deliverance of Jerusalem from attack, we can find help and support and encouragement amid all the personal challenges we have to face in life. Across the witness of Wesley Mission, we come into contact with people from many cultural, economic and social backgrounds. Common to all people and cultural groups is the need to be connected to a community. And that's what Wesley Mission offers through our child and family services. Here's a look at our work in Woodcroft in Western Sydney.
Woodcroft Playgroup is a supported playgroup. It's a structured playgroup. So what happens is the families get to come in and socialise with each other, but also the children get to do stationed activities where they can work inside and outside. The program is for children 0 to 5 years, so we have young children activities such as baby toys, crawling through a tunnel, activities where they can start developing their transition to school. It's great to see with the songs that they all now know the songs that we sing and the stories that are told. They come back each week and say, yeah, I really like that story, and yeah, it's good to see.
My name is Manisha Doshi and I have a 2.5-year-old. She is at the age where I want her to get trained for the preschool and all that. She was the bossy one, being the youngest. She wouldn't share at all, but I wanted her to learn. So I came in here and first thing she learned was sharing. And that's what I like about it, that she learns a lot of new things. She's learning manners, she's learning interacting with different kids. So little things like this that encourages. For myself, I get to make more friends. We are so good friends that we meet outside the playgroup and then we go out to places and have fun together, which is more like having fun with family itself. So yeah, definitely the getting into the group has helped me get more people, know more people, and some of them are really very close friends now.
My name's Louise Miller. My son Eric is now 4.5. We first started playgroup when he was just a baby. He always loves coming to playgroup. It's the highlight of his week, I think, that get to go to playgroup and just to see him sort of come and play with other kids and have fun. It's a good place for me because I have an autoimmune disease and that affects my joints and tendons. That makes me a bit more insular, I guess, because I don't get out a lot. I'm in a lot of pain quite often. So just sort of being able to come out and have somewhere where it's safe for him to just be able to play. Well, this playgroup's a bit different from other playgroups, as in it's supported. It's got a couple of support workers that you can talk to. It helps to know that as a parent and as a mum, that you're not doing it alone, and just coming out and seeing that there are other mums and we struggle in the same ways and we kind of have the same joys and frustrations. That's been my big highlight.
I think when families come here, they see Wesley Mission as a safe place. We do get a lot of families who have opened up about financial issues or other family issues, mental health, domestic violence. What we're able to do is refer these families to other services in a safe environment.
If you would like to see more of the work of Wesley Mission, visit wesleymission.org.au. You can watch loads more videos, catch up on past episodes of Wesley Impact TV, find out about our diverse range of services, and get involved to help make a positive difference in your community. You can also connect with us on social media and stay up to date on the latest news and information from Wesley Mission. wesleymission.org.au.
Conflict is unavoidable in our modern lives, or is it? Quite often, one small conflict can be the cause of a lifetime of pain and separation from family and friends, and a major conflict can lead to a family breakdown and much hurt for all involved. One person who's actively working to equip people to avoid conflict in their lives and to handle conflict in a way that doesn't lead to relationship breakdown is Bruce Burgess. Welcome, Bruce, to the programme.
Thanks very much. Glad to be here.
Now, you set up a ministry. You've called it Peacewise, and I think the title says a lot. So what is Peacewise?
Peacewise is a national cross-denominational ministry dedicated to providing help for people dealing with the everyday fact that conflict is everyone's life. And so using Christian principles, we help people learn, well, how do I do this better, given that it's a reality in my life? How can I approach it in ways that bring restorative results rather than just escalating, like you said, and things getting worse?
Look, I don't want to be cynical about lawyers. I've got lawyers in the family, so I better not be cynical.
I love lawyer jokes, so fire away.
Surely it's much more profitable for a lawyer to resolve the conflict after the conflict has emerged than equip before.
Well, sure it is for lawyers, and I guess that's one of the issues lawyers have, is sometimes they've got a vested interest in things going longer. But actually Peacewise was begun by Christian lawyers who had a heart for seeing conflicts dealt with well and early, and that actually things would not escalate to the point where lawyers needed to be involved. Certainly if conflict can be dealt with quickly and early, then it doesn't ever escalate to that sort of a point. And that's what we're about.
So why did you start the work in Australia then? You've got this idea, concept, it's not stealing it, it's sharing it from North America. Why did you do it?
Well, I was working in a large law firm and I saw the results of conflict in our society and in our Christian society as well, and thought, this is very damaging. There are so many people who are hurt, Christ's name is damaged, relationships are broken, there must be a better way. I saw that the Bible had so much wisdom on how to deal with everyday relationship problems. There were other people in Australia who I knew shared that same sort of passion. I saw, I guess, a possibility to make a difference, and God touched me and said, Bruce, I think this is for you. I think this is your life here.
And from Corinthians and other places, we know that the best way to handle conflict is not by going to court, is it?
Well, we talk about 1 Corinthians 6, where Paul is just about as angry as you can possibly find him in the Bible, saying, what are you people doing, taking each other before secular courts? Why wouldn't you have someone wise among you help you sort this out? Why wouldn't you do it some other way rather than litigate? And so certainly teaching people basic skills, a life skill of how do I deal with conflict well and easily and early, that's something
and
worth
Bruce, conflict
pursuing.
management is part of general management and leadership courses in many places. What do you think is distinctive about the way that you go about that?
Well, often conflict management is exactly that. Let's manage the conflict. Let's get it to a point where it's no longer damaging the organisation, where we're maybe not going to have a lawsuit brought against us. Maybe we can just help the people manage together. What we want to see is not that level of just keeping a lid on things so it's not a disaster. We actually try and help people learn not only to deal with the issues, but distinctively deal with the relationships.
So that's real resolution, if you like.
Absolutely. That's dealing with the deeper things that are going on that lead to the constant problems arising. So we help people look at what are the things driving the relationship problems and give practical strategies and help based on the Bible's wisdom on how to do that.
Both you and I, but for my introduction and some words you said, have talked about the fact you can't really avoid conflict completely. But what do you teach strategies that help people to minimise, shall we say, those things in their lives?
Absolutely. And so one of the things that we all do is we have our basic conflict responses. And so we teach a thing called the slippery slope, where people have different kinds of responses to dealing with conflict. We've all heard of fight and flight, yes. And we would maybe call that peace breaking and peace faking, where we would rather either get aggressive to get our own way, or we would just try and back away and not deal with it at all. But the peacemaking response is to actually not let things escalate, not get aggressive, not run away, try and have the conversations, be willing to look at what we've contributed, try and be able to have a healthy and constructive conversation with someone about what they've contributed. Don't see conflict just as a disaster, but actually maybe God is working through this conflict in that person, in me. Maybe there's an opportunity here to please God in the way I approach this, and maybe we can actually be reconciled.
And some of these big words like reconciliation, forgiveness, they're all important, aren't they?
Absolutely. And forgiveness is one of those hard things across the world, because when we're hurt, we harbour that. And sometimes we even withhold forgiveness as a way of getting back. But God has forgiven us through Jesus, and so we have a model for actually being willing to extend that forgiveness to someone. The flip side, though, is when people are saying sorry, we struggle with that. We have so many ifs and buts and qualifications. Learning how to say sorry well is another basic life skill that we teach, because without that, we can mean well, try and give a good apology, but we make such a mess of it.
And probably receiving forgiveness is also a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is, because there's a pride element that says, well, I deserve to be punished, or, you know, I can't really let it go.
Now, before we finish, I just want to say, how do people find out about Peacewise?
The easiest way is to go to our website, peacewise.org.au, where there's comprehensive information about our training, there's free resources, there's things that people can learn from and buy, and training that they can book into. Plenty of resources there on our website. That's the easiest way to get all the information.
Thanks, Bruce, and look on our website for further details of this particular, very exciting particular ministry. So welcome now Ida Marie to sing for us The Power of Your Name.
Tears of sorrow, only emptiness was found, hiding in the shadows of the world, watching as the days just pass me by, consumed in all my darkest fears, never knowing why, till I cried, Jesus, how I need you near. My world has fallen down, but in you my hope is found. My Jesus, how I need you near. My life can only change, oh yes, through the power your name. When I fell before his holy throne, crying tears unlike before, so assured of his true love for me, knowing Jesus won it all, standing strong upon the Savior's grace, freed and healed of all my pain, called to glorify his holy name, in his loving arms, my Jesus, how I need you near, when all has fallen down, in you my hope is found. My Jesus, how
It's been 200 years since the first Methodists met in Australia. To celebrate 2 centuries of faith and pioneering care, CEO and presenter Rev Dr Keith Garner takes us back to where it all began.
But we don't begin here at the heart of London. We begin in a town in the north of England.
In this fascinating narrative, Rev Garner chronicles the history of the life and times of the founder of Methodism, John Wesley. This fresh and thought-provoking documentary takes us on a journey throughout the United Kingdom, beginning in John Wesley's hometown of Epworth.
John Wesley was born here on the 17th of June 1703.
This 1-hour DVD travels onto his education years and beginnings of social justice in Oxford, to his final years in London. For more information on John Wesley, the man and his mission, call 02 9263 5555 or email us at impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
We've been talking with our guest about personal conflicts and how Christians can help to contribute to their being resolved, and of course negatively if they don't want to help. Psalm 46 is a great psalm in which one writer described as having implications that are undoubtedly far-reaching. This psalm certainly fits very much into the worshipping life of Israel, and one can imagine how popular it would have been on the great occasions and ceremonies throughout the year. And that kind of importance has passed on into the Christian tradition. It's often read, you know, at times when people are looking back at great moments of conflict and how the peace of God has come into their lives. I want to read all of it. Psalm 46 is not that long. It's actually just 11 verses, but I want to read them to you now. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though the waters roar and foam and the mountains quake with their surging. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. God is within her. She will not fall. God will help her at break of day. Nations are in uproar, kingdoms fall. He lifts his voice, the earth melts. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Come and see what the Lord has done, the desolations he has brought on the earth. He makes war cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. He says, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Now, the main purpose of this psalm lies in the opening and the closing words. We find it opens with these words, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble, and concludes, the Lord Almighty is with us. God of Jacob is our fortress. God is our refuge in all the earth-shaking events of our lives. And we discover his power when we acknowledge that it is he who is with us in the midst, and in so many other ways of expressing God's presence alongside us. I thought of some of the ways in which this psalm could be helpful to us. So I thought of some of them, and here they are as we open it up through the verses. In verse 2, in times of fear. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way. Well, it's one thing to say that, but to have an assurance in our faith that we will not fear in the times of challenge is really, really the big ask of faith, if you like. When nations are in conflict, verse 6, nations are in uproar, kingdoms fall, he lifts his voice, the earth melts. Well, we can't say that the conflict between nations has come to an end. But what we can know is even when there are, in political and economic terms, when nations are impacted by conflict between nations or even within themselves, in those midst, we can still know what it is to put our trust in God and somehow not be protected from the fact that it happens, but be protected from the worst impact As we've heard, conflicts do happen. They happen between individuals, they happen in communities, they happen between communities. And sometimes in those places, we need the person that will come in and help us to resolve and find some resolution within the conflict. Also, when we're tempted to turn to war. Now, this is clearly in a war context because the imagery is very real. He makes war cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow. He shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. But there are wars between people. There are wars in communities. And I think that we can be tempted to take to the weapons of this world to solve wars, and that's really not the way. God gives us a better way. God is the ultimate peacemaker, the one who longs to bring people together. Perhaps the best known verse is verse 10, where God is the guarantor of peace in our lives. He is God forever, and his living presence alongside us makes all the difference, no matter what situation we find ourselves in. Now I want to read verse 10. He says, "Be still and know that I am God. I'll be exalted among the nations. I'll be exalted in the earth. Be still and know that I'm God." You can't help notice that verse 10 has the feel of the promise made by Isaiah of one who will come, that is Messiah, who'll be alongside us in the words, God is with us. Now, I once had a man, in a congregation, and I asked him on one Remembrance Sunday, on the 11th of November, if he'd read the 46th Psalm. He was an older man, and he said he would, but it was going to be a great challenge to him. And after he'd read it, he told me why it was a great challenge. He was on a boat in the English Channel that had been bombed. And he was in the water for 3 days, holding on to pieces of a ship. And he kept repeating to himself the 46th Psalm. And so when I said to him, come and read this in a special church service that we were conducting at the time, for him it was so pregnant with meaning. It was such a recollection of his own experience of being there and knowing he was hanging on because God was his refuge and his strength. People have all kinds of experiences in their lives and they look back on them. But for Christian people, we look back to the gift of God in Jesus Christ, to the ultimate peacemaking act in the cross, which brings together people, situations, and brings about healing and the possibility of a new beginning. When we find ourselves in that particular moment, we find a real opportunity to begin again. And whether it's hanging on for grim death because we might drown, or whether it's because we have found in Jesus Christ that he truly is our Saviour and our Lord, and able to bring together those who are divided, those who are cut off, and bring about peace in the most difficult of circumstances, we can be certain that we can be still and know the presence of God in those places. John Wesley, the great founder of our Methodist movement and our Wesleyan movement, from which Wesley Mission takes its root, when he came to the final days of his life, like so many, he gathered his friends around, they drew pictures, and with his dying breath, in those final hours, he affirmed, "The best of all is God is with us. There is no finer assurance of the peace and hope that is ours in Christ, which removes all conflict and gives real purpose to living."
If you would like to contact Keith and find out more about today's program, write to us at Wesley Mission, Post Office Box A5555, Sydney South 1235, or you can send an email to impacttv@wesleymission.org.au. On our website, you can catch up on past episodes of Wesley Impact, find out more about our work, read online magazines and articles, and connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. You can also connect to Keith's blog and stay up to date on all of the latest news and information from Wesley Mission, wesleymission.org.au.
So many thanks for you joining us today. Please don't hesitate to write and be in touch if you've got questions or comments on today's programme. I hope you found the conversation with Bruce interesting, that people are out there offering help in the midst of conflict situations, offering to us hope that we don't have to find ourselves in those situations where we're locked in without any future. Don't forget, you can watch this and you can watch past episodes of Wesley Impact on the Wesley Mission website, wesleymission.org.au, or you can send me an email on impacttv@wesleymission.org.au. Join us next week for another episode of Wesley Impact. Thank you and God bless you.
Wesley Mission helps more than 2,800 families each year through our Wesley Family Centres. To find out more, visit wesleymission.org.au.